I am very delighted to be invited to this second National Peace and Security Summit of the Nigerian Labour Congress with the theme Overcoming the Current Siege of Insecurity in Nigeria, Imperatives of Human and Physical Security. The choice of the theme for this summit, as well as my invitation to deliver this remark, underscores the importance of government and labor working together for the common good of the Nigerian people. I therefore seize this opportunity to appreciate the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress under the able leadership of Comrade Ayuba Waba, with members of his national executive and the working class for such a synergy. Of course, government and labor interactions could and need to constantly seek ways of improving for the best interests of the country. It is for this reason that government would like to seek a better understanding of the labor issues by the NLC and call on labor to be very open to understanding the perspective of government, and oftentimes would want to argue, especially in the midst of the current security challenges, that we should exhaust all means before embarking on industrial actions as a means of settling disputes. Because labor and its constituents are an integral part of solution providers to the critical issues that confront our nation. And we cannot all be in the trenches at the same time as we are being confronted by the security challenges at this moment. Security is the most vital element in human life. Without it, socio-economic and political progress cannot be realized. Every nation has an obligation to protect and deepen its core values aimed at enabling people to live their lives in a free and secured environment. This should be according to their shared common beliefs to preserve their national interests, identity, and sovereignty. It is in this respect that the current state of insecurity calls for concerted efforts and collaboration with the government to end this orgy of violence. I've listened with rapt attention to the comments of the President of the Nigerian Labour Congress and that of the chairman of the occasion and the co-chair. I identify with the issues that have been raised, and I believe strongly that this kind of summit provides the platform for us to interrogate all the indices that make up our country, Nigeria, and also proffer solutions so that at the end of the day, Nigeria will come out strong, indivisible, indissoluble, and a nation that would meet the agenda that God has set for it. That is my prayer. And in my very few years of being in public life, I have had the opportunity of serving in two constituent assemblies. One in 1988 that crafted the 1989 Constitution, and the other one in 2005 where we made a modest attempt at defining what would constitute Nigeria with its governance structure. Then the chairman of this occasion was the Senate President, and he knew the fertile effect that the attempt suffered. But in all of this, oftentimes I reflect, and we were sharing with the President of the NLC, that we have about 46 different federal governments all over the world, but none of them is the same in terms of its operation and system of governance. So whenever we begin an interrogation of how we want to live going forward, we should be mindful of the fact that we must develop something that is indigenous, that can work for us, considering our historical backgrounds and the indices and the syncrasies of our people. I remember in 1988 and even in 2005, some of us that had very revolutionary ideas, we decided to recommend that the states have become conduit pipes. And for that reason, we should jettison the states. And the argument was advanced quite strongly that we should think about a model that will remove the state structure because they have just been used for the purposes of dispensing resources without corresponding development efforts. And known to some of us, a lot of the members were planning to run the 2007 election. So that, at the end of the day, never saw the light of the day. So that is Nigeria for you. In the midst of wanting to proffer solutions, oftentimes we find our elites and our actors wanting to write themselves into the process that would eventually evolve and emerge. I want to thank the NLC for creating this platform, because it is very important that we begin to dig deep and drill all the issues that have bedeviled us as a nation. We must find solutions, and there must be original Nigerian solutions to our problems. An important component of security is a healthy state of mind, which is often assured with decent work, and a disruption would make him or her less secure and could affect the overall sanctity of not only he or her's overall mental state, but will give a feeling of being a part of this developing country and economy. And the president of NLC has alluded to that. The traumatic effect of a chaotic working environment for the Nigerian working class is a thing that we must try as much as possible to avoid, because it constitutes a source and a burden on the security challenges of the nation. Similarly, industrial actions manifesting as strikes have the added burden of reducing government inability to earn resources in undertaking developmental efforts and activities, including earning enough to ensure payment of workers' salaries. It is for this and other reasons that I do reiterate my call to the Nigerian Labour Congress, which I often do, to explore all possible avenues of resolving disputes before calling out workers on strike. On its part, government will continue to ensure that conditions to eliminate opportunities for discord with labor are eliminated. And I must congratulate and thank the current leadership of TUC and NLC, because they have been forthcoming in this engagement. Whenever we have contentious issues, we try as much as possible to resist the temptation of allowing ourselves being driven onto the streets, because that complicates even the earning capacities of our people. The irregular and informal sector constitute almost 80% of the earning capacity and generation of wealth in this country. I would not want to bore you with the litany of our current security challenges that has been dealt with effectively by the chairman, the co-chair, and the president of the NLC. However, I need to emphasize this. At this time, for all Nigerians, regardless of political, religious, ethnic, or any form of affiliations, to bond together. This is the time that we must answer the clarion call to come together as a people and defeat this common enemy of the country that is assuming a frightening dimension. Injury to one, injury to all. The magnitude of the conflict that is confronting us as a nation is enormous. And unless we come together, work together, in spite of our differences, as a matter of fact, we should exploit our differences and drive them in the process as a force that will enable us bring resolutions to our current crisis. Government would consistently evolve its strategies to meet the rapidly and constantly changing dimension of our security challenges. It is for this reason that our national security has embraced social, economic, cultural, political, and environmental, and even technological variables to secure our nation. This is so because for a nation to be secured, it must conceive security and development from a holistic perspective. The president of NLC has stated this quite clearly, that security is everybody's business. I remember growing up in the rural part of now Adamawa State, then Adamawa Province. In the community, we had established systems of semblance of civilian authority. But when we came up, this is part of the problem. We copy certain things certain times without thinking about it. We came out through the Dasuki reforms for the creation of local governments. Those traditional institutions that had the authority for the maintenance of law and order in our local communities were totally relegated to the background. My father was a school teacher, a school headmaster, so we lived very close to the Meungwa's house. And I know that during those days, no stranger comes into the community and you take him in as his host without reporting that evening to the Meungwa, describing the nature of the person that has come, what he has come to that community to do, and how long he is staying. You don't even rent out a house to a stranger without clearance from the civil authority. That was a very instrumental way of checking influx of different kind of peoples that will come in and after a strange number of days begin to constitute problems and challenges of security to those communities. So now we have created local governments, but we have not allowed the local governments to work because they are incapacitated by reasons of no availability of funds. So when you go to these communities, there is a total disappearance of any form of civilian authority. How do we have peace if there is no semblance of civilian authority? I hope in the course of your interrogation, I see the former IG here, Solomon Arase. The issue of community policing can only succeed if you have the buy-in of the community. The communities have been so traumatized to the extent that they are first suspicious of even that civilian authority. And it will take a lot to be able to convince them to begin to cooperate. But my prayer that at the end of this particular meeting, some issues would have been interrogated and eventually we will find solutions to them. The federal government appreciates the importance of employment and decent work for peace and resilience 2017 and have taken measures that have generated employment and decent work in the face of the current global COVID-19 pandemic. You would all agree that our national response to this crisis, ably supported by the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC, has been adjudged as one of the best in the world. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare to celebrate the year 2021 Nigerian Labour Day in 2 days' time, it is important for us to remember as Labour that resilience is the second leg of the ILO recommendation 205 mentioned above. This resilience can only be manifest if we collectively work towards transforming our economy by contributing to its recovery, for which industrial disputes should be resolved in ways that would not further reduce productivity. I'm happy to note that one of the objectives of this summit is to propose suggestions on the way forward for a peaceful and secure Nigerian society, with concerted focus on human and physical security and addressing economic, political, education, governance, social security, intelligence issues, and rising inequality and vulnerability, especially for women and children. This objective resonates with the present efforts of President Muhammad Buhari's administration, who is leaving no stone unturned in addressing them. At this juncture, it is important I mention that while government is doing everything humanly possible to address the insecurity in the country, I wish to appeal to all Nigerians to see security as a collective responsibility and support the government in putting this undesirable experience behind us. I therefore urge the participants at this summit to explore all the ideas and issues that are relevant to overcoming insecurity in the country with a view to building a peaceful and united Nigeria. At the end of this summit, Mr. President, I look forward to receiving your recommendations to complement the ongoing government initiatives on national security. At this juncture, it is now my pleasure to declare the summit open, and I thank you for your kind attention, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. God bless the Nigerian Labour Congress.
Once again, if you are just joining us, this is the second edition of the National Peace and Security.
Insecurity, we witness, the rise in security we witness in many parts of the country of late, of course, affects workers, both in the formal and informal sector, more than any other sector. That is why it is important that the Nigerian Labour Congress has decided to focus very much on the theme of insecurity. So this summit would not have come at a better time. When we all come here and say that the issue of security is the responsibility of all, I think that is almost becoming a cliche. We should take it beyond that and analyze that statement further. When we say it's the responsibility of all, we mean that at this time, when situations are already tensed in the country, every one of us should have a responsibility to ensure that we do not add to the already tense situation. And so statesmen, professionals, even journalists should at this time know that patriotism should come even before professional responsibility. That is the truth. I was discussing with a journalist yesterday. I said, it is time for you to know that we are getting close to a situation of war. And so by this time, we should be more concerned about the unity of our country than protecting our turfs. Because once the country collapses, it will collapse on all of us. The Vice President cited an example yesterday, or 2 days ago, at an occasion we attended, when he said, when he visited Rwanda some years ago, before the war, he met one of the justices of the Supreme Court of Rwanda. And when the problem of Rwanda started, when he visited Rwanda again, he saw this same man on the queue in an IDP camp with a plastic plate waiting to get food, a justice of the Supreme Court of Rwanda. The conflict did not recognize the rich or the poor, or the privileged and underprivileged. The country will collapse on all of us. So, even for journalists, like I said, let us realize now that patriotism should come before professionalism at this time. In the United States that we use as a model, recently, the press, CNN, the major networks, they shut down the President of the United States, Donald Trump, when he was making incendiary comments to set the country afire. The press that thought they had a responsibility to air the speech of the President of the United States, they shut him down. They refused to air him because they wanted to keep the country as one. That is the kind of responsibility we are talking about. You think you are hurting the government by making and airing incendiary speeches? You are not. You are hurting the country, not the government of the day. The government day will live in the next 2 years. We live in less than 2 years, we're out of here. But we want this country to survive. So it's a responsibility of everybody at this time. Statesmen should not protect their toughs. I was at the Supreme Court. I mean, this is not the first time we are at this kind of crossroads. During Obasanjo's time, if you remember, pockets of groups took up arms protecting their toughs around the country. And that was when most of the separate leaders were arrested and put in jail. I had defended Asari Dokubo at that time to the Supreme Court. And I was shouting human rights at the Supreme Court. You remember the very iconic statement of the Supreme Court. Retired Joseph Roosevelt told me to my face, it was my case that they made that statement, that when national security is involved, human rights take a second place. We need to keep this country as one. They told me to my face, Supreme Court of Nigeria. I've seen both sides. I've seen all sides. We must keep this country as one. So this is a clarion call to all of us to be statesmen at this time. Don't protect your toughs. Don't incite your people to take up arms because you say you want to hurt the government of the day. It's an appeal by government. I challenged a journalist recently. I said, the president has said, if you see anyone with AK-47, shoot the person dead. The president said so. Why are we playing that statement? Shoot him dead. Whoever the person, whether the person is Igbo, Yoruba, Fulani, shoot the person dead. The president said so. He said so. I challenge somebody of late. I said, give me the name of anyone arrested anywhere of a particular tribe that was released without prosecuting the person. Give me the name, location. I will fight for that. I will fight that cause myself. But I am challenging everyone. Give us the name, location, of identity of anyone arrested, and because he's of one particular ethnic group, he was released. Give us the name. Give us the name and identity. So it's an appeal. Let us not make an already tense situation worse by ethnic profiling, by adding fuel to fire. Let us at this time rise and defend our nation. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Your Excellency, the chairman of the occasion and former Senate President, Your Excellency, my friend and comrade, the Secretary, in fact, my boss Mustafa, Secretary to Government, President of the NLC, the founding President and the current President, all other protocols respectfully observed. Well, I find some courage in the statement by the TUC President. But let me start by saying that I am an unrepentant believer in the unity of Nigeria. I come from a small village that was not on the Nigerian map, not due to my fault. But I believe I am better off in a larger Nigeria than a repartitioned Nigeria. Number two, I stand here to submit that given the growing number of ethnic champions who seek to play one part of the country against the other, particularly the political elite, I want to submit that the two tribes we have in Nigeria today are those who have doubt whether they have anything to live for, those who are victims of the system, and those who are victimizing them. In every part of the country, you will find the oppressed and the oppressor. If the oppressor organize themselves, stop agonizing, and start organizing, and find common unity across the 36 states and FCT, that will be the beginning of laying foundation for what I considered to be sustainable peace in Nigeria. Even the prayer that my brother Cyril led us to pray. Our national prayer is justice and peace. But when I read the NSC program, I had mixed feelings. And I looked at the list of the discussants, I was clearer. It appears NSC is looking at security from military perspective. What the police can do differently, what the army can do differently. Let me ask, I'm not an academician. A man or a woman or a couple in a house in Nigeria, Africa's largest, most powerful country, in fact, leading economy. The parliament prescribed 30,000 minimum wage. For some reasons, a governor or group of governors insist that this 30,000 cannot be paid. When he denied that payment, can there be peace between husband and wife? Can there be peace between parents and children? I submit that the foundation for national peace must begin with peace in the family, peace in the community, peace in the local government, peace in the state. It is the sum total of the piece of the part that translates to peace of the whole. And any discussion that invades this, we are begging the question. I ask myself, since when we found ourselves in this situation? And I'm happy that NSC statement make the point that ILO entry point in this conversation recognizes that the foundation for sustainable peace and security demands not necessarily more bullets, demands what ILO rightly described as decent jobs. But when you are in an environment where jobs are being killed, we are talking jobs that do not exist, cannot even be decent. Before you go into qualify the quality of the job must exist. Let me say that I have been, and I've had the privilege of working at the most subordinated position in an industry as a daily paid worker. And I have organized to become the president of the NLC. And by miracle, I became the governor of Edo State, which is why they now call me a politician too. But I'm a labor man in politics. But the point I want to make, Comrade President, you are not going to succeed in educating those who are benefiting. Merchants of crisis cannot be tutored out of their business. They are not doing it out of ignorance. I ask you, Mr. President, NSC cannot continue to lament why basic social security laws, not the word security, social security, not just physical security. If a man has not eaten one good meal a day, does he need bullet to die? How can you be told? I was a governor. Our dollar income may have dropped, and it has always been like that. But the fact of devaluation means that there are more naira notes distributed to government courtesy of devaluation, not printing, as one man said. Therefore, that Nigerian workers are paid in naira, for me it is criminal for any governor, and I emphasize any governor, as we speak, not to be paying as and when due that minimum wage. There is crisis in the family. When somebody said, are we happy? I'm saying different degrees of unhappiness. There are people who wonder whether death is not more, will not put an end to their pain than living in a situation where you are employed, ideally by the most responsible authority in any state, which is the state government, and for months you are not being paid. How can we accept that when the parliament has passed a law and the president of Nigeria, President Buhari, has assented to that law is justiciable. And as we speak, many states are not paying it. Even more provocative, Mr. President of NSC, is that you are spending time. I saw some publications, facts and fallacies about the minimum wage. Who are you educating? You think those people are talking the way they do because they are ignorant? The 36 governors are united, which points to one reality, that when the chiefs are down, all those divisions they make you to pursue, at some level, the oppressors are united against you. You don't need to educate them. In fact, when I saw one of your publications, I said, you have the capacity, and you should not only have it, you should deploy it. If the legislators are deploying their capacity to revise the gain of Asa Zumonu, you can't lecture them. You deploy your capacity to stop them. The National Assembly cannot stop, cannot function, discussing how to revise minimum wage, and you will go there with placard. No! I'm sorry to say, I am a believer in peace, but we must first regain balance of confusion. I have benefited from the system, I have a stake, and therefore I cannot be dismissed as someone who has nothing at stake. And I say so with pride because as governor, I increased minimum wage to 25,000 when they were saying 80,000 is not possible. So I want Labour to approach national security first from the perspective of social security of working families. Number two, Mr. President, who are the bandits? Who are the bandits? You know, for some time, I don't speak because I don't know how not to say it the way I feel it. The job I can never do is to be a diplomat. I suspect, those 35,000 workers in Kaduna alone, Kaduna City, not Kaduna State, whose factories have been closed. What can they be doing? What can their children be doing? What are their grandchildren be doing? What is the industry available? Those workers in Sharada in Kano, in Bombai in Kano, where I went to organize Gita Borogo, Ayaji Aiki Mbazabi Amuba, What are they doing now? They are still in Nigeria. If you don't engage them, isn't it common sense that they say an idle man? Do we really need to have a conference to understand this fact? When we say security for all, it's a security for everybody. Those who feel individually insecure because they are homeless, how much can they contribute to the bigger one? Where they are trying to secure themselves. The last one, and I'm happy Mustafa is here, the second to government. I think that the NSC must go beyond the bread and butter to go into not how to deal with consequences, but how to deal with the cause of the problems we are facing. We have a universal basic education in law, and yet many governments at state level have privatized education by not investing in public education. You have some children, I see photographs of people in villages sitting on the floor in a classroom, no roof, and they are Nigerians. When they grow up, having passed through to humanized society that didn't show care, didn't show love, didn't show any recognition for their life, when they come to my age, you want to lecture them about peace? Did they ever know one? So why is universal basic education not translated? I sit in a council. The president reminds us that so much money is available to ensure that every Nigerian child go to school. As some state governors will say, we don't have catapult funding. How is that possible? We can afford government house. We can afford our every other thing we need. We can fly to Abuja in and out. Some governors personally almost permanently live in Abuja. Why this crisis is going on? I think there is room for substantial truth. Substantial truth. Unfortunately, this environment will allow it. Because we do need to be careful. Now, I'll round up. I know you are about passing on me, and as a small man, it's easy. So I just ask myself, for example, why do bandits in Nigeria kill another fellow Nigerian without any human feeling? How? They are like us. They were born. Their mother spilled blood when they were born. Which process brought them up in a way that at adult, they now derive joy in killing and even killing children? Detaining children. I suspect, I use the word suspicion, and it's for police to investigate suspects, that those Nigerians we abandoned, we did not educate, we did not provide for them. You could call them almajiri, you could call them beggars, call them anything. They have now grown up. Mr. President of NSC, you talk of unemployment, correct. But the bigger problem is having a huge population of unemployable because they never had opportunity of being taught by a qualified teacher. So I guess that when you finish discussing the general problem of insecurity, we got to discuss the issue of the security of wages, security of jobs. Because those who have been retrenched, I am in the ruling party, so I'm not talking as if I don't have a stake. But this is a Nigeria conference. I think that until we revise our industrial and trade policies and insist, as Buhari has done in agriculture, it must go beyond agriculture now to manufacturing. We must bring back those labor-intensive industries. Now that we have joined Africa Trade and whatever agreement, the Michelin industry that can produce millions of tires is not in Nigeria. Those who were working in Michelin, what are they doing now? They become militants. Those who were working in Dunlop, what are they doing now? They become militants. Those who were working in leathers, Bata, What are they doing now? All of us in this room, we are probably wearing small gold butter, small gold socks, and small gold clothing. How can the country make it? So I think going forward, particularly at this time, we have to begin to articulate doable, sensible, industrial policies that will emphasize job creation, job addition, and the NSC can play its distributional role through collective bargaining. Without those jobs, we have a problem. So I want to conclude. Mr. President, don't beg that guy who sponsored that motion on minimum wage. Identify them. Identify the speaker. Identify the Senate president. Let them decide, because we have seen them dismiss motions on that floor when it doesn't suit them. If they entertain this minimum wage stuff, I'm happy the president has already said he will not assent to it. But even the guts for anyone elected as a progressive party member to National Assembly to contribute to the debate on how to revise the gains of Shagari sustained by head of state, the gains by Shagari, sustained by Buhari as military head of state, sustained by military president Babangida, sustained by Yaradua, sustained by Jonathan, and these are PDP people, to think that an APC government will pretend over the debate or whether or not this should be lost, this is the height of provocation. And NSC should stop carrying placards, identify them, and deal in the labor way. We don't use bullets. We don't kill. But we can prevent, harass, expose, the way we did with Jerry Ghana when it was being used to promote fuel price because he has the eloquence. We turned his name from Jerry Ghana to Jerry Can of Lies. You must identify the leaders who are pushing at the people's agenda and attack them, not physically. Attack them by a well-articulated response that will expose them for what they are. Lastly, I'm happy the military are here. Everybody talk about the Nigerian army or police not having enough bullets, not having enough whatever. I asked the question, and I've asked this question before, and I think Boss Mustafa was there. How much do Nigeria police pay for a bullet for AK-47? How much does the Nigeria Armed Forces pay for AK-47 or any of the weapons that they use, compared to the price of the same weapon procured in our neighboring countries or even Europe? We must carry out this audit because we are taught as young union leaders that no country has enough to meet the greed of a few, but every country created by God has enough to meet the basic need of his citizens. It is the process of managing, of distribution, and the values that drive them that produce so many people hungry and dying and few people surviving. May this conference go beyond bullet and gun to deal with what I call the remote causes rather than the consequences of insecurity. Thank you very much.